we were in the Pro Mod class running 37s, and it was like West Coast versus East Coast, and this West Coast Toyota was out there, and it was badass. You know, it had like diamond axles, it had like air shift front dig. It was just awesome ride height. Well, the guy that owned that was Dave Cole. So I was almost the last person to start, and I didn't even make it. I was 20 minutes late to start because we got stuck. Chase truck had to come get us. He pulls us through which seemed like a mile-long sand silt bed. I'm going to spend a lot of money on this 4400 car, which I don't know how much a lot of money was, but I built that supercharged 3.8, and you know, I bought Fab 9 housings and built my own axles. And
Welcome to the Off-Road Campfire Podcast, where stories are told and legends are made. Hey, tonight we have Chris May from May Motorsports. Chris, you've run Baja 1000. You've done Ultra 4, KOH 8 times. You've done Class 11 UTVs. And if anybody's ever seen your video, you have a exorbitant amount of trophies hanging on the wall in your shop. So welcome, Chris. How are you today?
good, man. Thanks for inviting me onto the show, and doing pretty good. Just hanging out in the shop like always.
Man, this is an honor. You and I, we're South Carolinians. Not by, well, we're here now. Let's put it that way. We're not native, but we're here now. These North Carolina people, like Clinton here, we just, we don't have much words for them. But yeah, we're South Carolina. Your name has actually come up several times. I've watched you for years. I actually sold a hardtop to your uncle who lives in Greenwood for his son. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's funny. He mentioned he kind of mentioned it. I didn't put it together, but I just put it together. So that's funny.
So he came to my house and picked it up, and he saw my Jeep, and he's like, "Oh, my nephew's got one of those." And I was like, "Oh yeah," I just small talk with an old Southern man. And who's your nephew? "Oh, Chris May." I was like, "Yeah, no, he doesn't have one of those. He has a much bigger one and a much faster one, and it is not that. I guarantee you." It's
so
whatever.
that's like my wife's uncle, and I don't know him. I see him very, very vague, but they're pretty big into sports. And he messaged me out of the blue, was like, "Hey man, you're a lot bigger into this than I realized." And he's still kind of telling me the deal. I still didn't know it was you that told him that. But
Right? No,
anyway, it's funny.
yeah,
Funny.
He name dropped you,
now.
and I was like, "It is not. It is nothing like my Jeep. I guarantee you. This is. Of course, your adventure in the Class 11 to Vegas to Reno probably was exactly like my Jeep, broken a lot.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, nothing you own is like that. I guarantee you. Well, Chris, tell me start from the beginning. I mean, you've run, well, I'll put it this way. You've run, like I said, Baja 1000, Ultra 4, KOH. God, you're in a league of its own with the Class 11 stuff. You've lost your ever-loving mind to get into one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know how long this podcast is going to be, but man, I have really, pretty much since the beginning, got into, been into four wheeling, and here lately, pretty much all my years of meeting people, just kind of like meeting y'all, talking at campfires, this and that, has culminated we're all growing up. People are doing cooler stuff, and I'm getting involved and doing some cool stuff of my own. So it's just been awesome. The network has grown, and a lot of my friends that I met probably in the late '90s are doing cool stuff now. So,
well, I think Clinton and I said before you came on, we said that you'd have to be crazy to drive all the way to Vegas, then get in another vehicle and drive all the way to Reno, just to turn around and drive all the way back to South Carolina.
And the I guess what started that craziness was kind of King of the Hammers, though. It's here we are from South Carolina, but go back to King of the Hammers. I'll kind of throw this out there, I guess. I was doing We Rock, old school rock calling, still around. I don't think Big Rich. I think he might have sold it. I don't pay much attention to it, but I was doing that with a friend of mine named Drew Goldie, and we pretty much, his dad back in the day gave us a gas card and a Ford Excursion and pretty much said, all right, here you go. So I maxed out a lot of credit cards probably back in the day just to be able to go to them races and all. I probably threw complete Hydro Systems on the credit card or a Dana 60 on the credit card or something. But anyways, that led to, we went to Boyd, Texas for the We Rock Nationals. I got a trophy back there somewhere. I don't remember the year, '05, '06. And we were in the Pro Mod class running 37s, and it was like West Coast versus East Coast, and this West Coast Toyota was out there, and it was badass. It had like diamond axles, it had like air shift front dig. It was just awesome ride height. Well, the guy that owned that was Dave Cole, and I might screw the story up, but Brian Ellinger, who owned Diamond Axles, was actually driving it. Dave was spotting. Again, networking. Met him briefly through that. And then a few years later, he's telling us about King of the Hammers, and we're like, dude, we're from South Carolina. We're not going to King of the, we can't go to King of the Hammers. Little did we know Griffin Radiators, who is 35 minutes from my house, was kind of, part of it. So Drew Goldie really got the invite. He didn't go the first year because it was kind of like, man, we're still in college, this and that, and we didn't go. Well, he went to the next year, which was 2009, and then in 2010, we both went. So, and I really haven't missed one since then.
So much work just to get out there and get your rig and all your, spare parts, and like it's just it's a lot of people don't take into account how much time and effort just to get to an event.
Well, and I'm sure we'll get into that when we get into Vegas to Reno.
Yeah,
because that if you haven't already heard the story, you've already recapped it, and it's crazy from the get go. But Chris, what really started it all? You came from South Florida. What really started it all? Was it your dad that was into it? Was he a mechanic? Was he a wrencher or?
So my dad was an auto mechanic, but really didn't. I think if anything, he did not want me working on vehicles. It was like, it's kind of a hard living, this and that. But in high school, I'm obviously from South Florida, but I moved to South Carolina when I was about 12, and went to a little bit of middle school and then high school in Pendleton, South Carolina. And man, they had an automotive class, high school auto mechanics. And that was the coolest class ever. Like, to this day, that was what started it for me. But I also met, like, one of my best friends, Drew Goldie, in that class. And he had a Ford Ranger. I had a Ford Ranger at the time, two-wheel drive. And he would tell these stories, and we would work on it. Anyways, I bought a four-wheel drive Ford Ranger. And, man, we were four-wheeling. Really, I say four-wheeling, we were trespassing every weekend. I mean, back then there was no off-road parks. I mean, it was...
Well, yeah.
But that's where it started, was in that automotive class with my buddies.
That's cool. I think the dumbfounding thing for me moving out here from Colorado was that, the joy about Colorado is you can go 5 minutes from the house and you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Here, everything's private. There is no designated trail system. It had to be so no matter where you go, you were trespassing. You had to trespass if you wanted to go four-wheeling.
Yeah, which I don't live far from Greenville, South Carolina. So it's, 30 minutes up the road. So, like, every new subdivision was our four-wheeling spot. It'd be like, just any ditch they dug, we were climbing through it, or mud hole or something like that. So that was awesome. Basically what we did in high school.
That was it. Yeah, because that's all you could really do. How much trouble did you get into? Is what I'd like to know.
What's crazy is I think we got run out of a few subdivisions or whatever, but man, we really didn't. I didn't have any problems with the law back then. I think, it's crazy because looking back now, if I hear something on my property, I'm going to investigate. And I know we were trespassing on. You didn't even realize how stupid we were, but it's amazing when you get shot at. Because if there was a creek, if there was a bridge and there was water under it, we were driving off the side of the road to go see how deep that creek was.
So there's no cop still in there, Pickens County, that hates the name May.
No, that's what I'm saying. I never really got any. I never really had any bad run-ins with the law or any property owners. I mean, so it's crazy, but no
Yeah,
good stories.
you scathed that one for sure.
Yeah,
Now you got into electrical engineering. How'd you fall into that?
man. So like I said, my dad was an auto mechanic and was like, "Hey, this sucks. Don't do it. Whatever." Going back to my buddy Drew Goldie, we actually had another good friend that was a state trooper. So there for a while.
So there
I
was
wanted
a
to
cop that knew May's name.
Well, maybe that's why, because
Yeah,
he
okay.
actually was doing a lot of the four wheeling with us, so maybe we had that covered there. He was trespassing too, and he was a state trooper. But I actually went to school to become a state trooper for a little while. But no, I had a grandfather that was like, "Oh, electronics are the future." I really do like working on stuff. But I got that 2-year degree just because I was like, I didn't know what else to do. I mean, I was four wheeling.
Yeah.
I was kind of working, but I did get that degree, and it actually worked out. It's a pretty good degree. So
And how long you been with Dominion?
Duke Energy. So that's
Duke? One of those
keep-
one of
yeah.
those people that take a lot of money from us.
yeah, they
every
take
month.
they take a lot of my money
Yeah.
too. I'm ready for this weather to cool down so my power bill will go down. But man, I talk about networking. So my whole adult life, or everything's revolved around four wheeling and friends. I had a buddy that was in that automotive class, and he got me a job at Walmart changing oil and tires in college, which was actually a good gig because they paid pretty good back in the day and they worked around my schedule. Well, that same guy got a job at a utility company, Pike, and was like, "Hey man, we're off every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday." Well, as a college kid, you're like, "Man, I've worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday my whole life." So there, I got a job with the utility company. I was off every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I could go to every event. By then, I had went to Teleco a bunch and met. I don't know if you guys, Chris Durham, Ken Shoup. Them
Oh,
were
yeah.
like, I mean, off-road legends at the time. Well, probably not at the time. They were really just becoming popular, but they got me into competing. I was off every weekend. Buddy's dad gave us an excursion, and man, we were going to all the events. So
Chris was welding back a tie rod together on the top of Trail 15 the other weekend. So
yeah, I'm sure he was there, man. He's all about the wheeling. He's wheeling all the time. So
yeah, he's got a bad little scrambler. What
yeah, he always
was it a
builds something
TJ that he?
cool. Yeah, he takes TJs and JKs and turns them into all kind of cool
Yeah,
stuff.
he had a little 2-door bobbed with a bed on it, which was
Yep.
absolutely sick. But yeah, I mean, it's
And they're simple and they work, man. They keeps them low.
Yeah,
to the
they
ground
work.
And they work.
yeah, it is dumbfounding. And I've told Clinton this before. I didn't realize how big South Carolina was even the Southeast was big into the off-road world. I mean, you got Dana's up around the corner. You got Radiator. You got Motobuilt in Alabama. You got, and then just the guys in the upstate here in South Carolina and North Carolina that wheel that have
I'll
huge
tell you,
huge
back
names.
in the day, I don't know. You guys heard of Jellicoe? I'm sure back in the
Oh.
Jellicoe days. Well,
Oh yeah,
back then I was just. I mean, I was a college kid. I was scraping by. The only reason I was even going to the events because we had a basically free gas and an excursion. I didn't own my pickup truck was a truck I was four wheeling. I didn't even own I didn't even own a trailer. Or no, I mean, really, I think me and my college roommate bought a trailer together. But Chris Durham, Ken Shoup, Mike Cole, Buddy Carlton. I'm trying to think. Brad Seaton. I mean, there was within 200 or 300 miles right here in the foothills. They were all just killing it. They were all winning. I mean, Matt Dees. I mean, he won. It was unstoppable for a long time, and they were all from this area, and it's kind of cool. So
That's awesome.
So growing up with those guys and getting into it, you started We Rockin' It first.
yeah, I actually. And I need to mention another guy named Tommy Glenn. He actually, we met him networking. Met him through Drew. I didn't own a welder. I didn't own a shop. I'm telling you, I was just winging it. And I was probably a little nutty, crazy. I mean, I would pretty much hit anything wide open, roll it over, flip it over. We'd high lift the roof back out. I'd drive it home. But that Tommy Glenn guy, I kind of met him four wheeling, and he said, "Man, you need a roll cage." I was like, man, I ain't got money for that, you know? And he's like, oh, come on, dude. He's like, if you buy the metal, I'll build your roll cage. And it's funny, that saying stuck with him. He was like, man, then he kind of got into the competition. He was like, oh, you need to be
Yeah.
doing better. And I'm like, oh, I need a buggy. Man, I can't afford that. Hey, if you buy the material, I'll do the work. So, man, Tommy Glenn he built all of my race cars. My 4400 car in Ultra 4, he built it. And then I finally started slowly, had more buddies helping me. And I'm finally getting now to where I'm pretty comfortable building some stuff, but I'm still not the best fabricator. Not even a good fabricator at all, really.
Well, yeah, I was going to say you put together a few good rigs, and at least you patch them together on your journeys, at least to get them somewhat close to the finish line sometimes. So
They work, right? I mean,
they work.
Yeah, that's
That's all
it.
that
I mean, the
matters.
welds aren't pretty, or may not be this, but the crazy thing is, my Class 11's probably the nicest. I mean, my 4400 car was really nice because Tommy built it, but my Class 11 car was actually really nice. I think it was. I mean, fabrication wise, and I mean, it's beat all the crap right now, but
A little repair work. How long did you run We Rock?
So I started before We Rock was even around. It was like there was
Okay.
a series in Jellicoe called E Rock, not E Cores, but E Rock. That was probably 2002. But then my years. I am terrible with timelines, but I did We Rock forever. I did New Rock. I did U Rock. It was all the rocks back then. Wherever there was an event, we were going, man. We were there, and we weren't even. I actually did win a U-Rock event. We were pretty good, but I mean, we didn't have a lot of money, put it that way. So
In the Ranger?
no, along that time, I like Ford. I'm still more of a Ford guy than anything, but man, Toyotas were king, man. To me, it was like
yeah.
just you could keep Toyota axles. All my buddies with Jeeps were doing all these axle swaps. I'm like, man, screw that. I'm buying some Longfields and Marlin Crawler and 37s and dual cases, and man, I stayed
Send
with
it.
Toyota all the way until XRA came around. I don't know if you remember that. I mean, that was kind of like the fast rock crawling before KOH. You
Yeah.
lined up side by side. You did this course. That was really fun. But then I needed a bigger motor. I went to a supercharged, started building chassis, and it snowballed. That's where King of the Hammers kind of came from. It's kind of like fast rock crawling. So
Yeah, definitely.
So I thought Dave Cole was out in California. Is he not? Was he a Southeast guy or no?
no, so I've come to know Dave pretty good here the last 10 years or so. He's from like up in New Jersey, Philadelphia area, and he moved
Okay.
to Temecula. I don't remember what he moved to Temecula for, but no, he was from California, and that's where he started doing Toyotas and We Rocks and all that. But then I guess he had this crazy idea. Hey, we're going to go. Well, he'd been wheeling out there. I've heard the story. He's been wheeling out there with like the 10 benders and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
had this crazy idea. Hey, let's run all the trails fast, and that's kind of where it came from. So
See what happens.
that's right.
That's awesome.
So when was the first time you knew, like, you know what, I could do this, or was it really just an every weekend kind of grind until you just wound up where you are today?
Well, so that's the crazy thing. I never really had a plan. Like, it was always shoot from the hip. I think
Yeah.
right at the end of my 4,400 days, I tried to make a push and get a lot of sponsors. And I mean, man, I've got some great friends in the industry, but you go up to somebody in the Southeast and you say, hey, man, I want to try to make a run at this 4,400 stuff. I need $10,000 or $15,000, which that ain't even a lot. I'm talking 6-7 years ago. They look
Right.
at you crazy as hell, like 10 or 15 grand. And I'm like, well, man, that doesn't even really cover my entry fee and fuel money. So I made a push and I did some YouTube stuff and I got a YouTube page, but man, I'm past that. I just do it for fun.
Yeah.
I've got some people that'll give me some parts here and there, but man, I'm just having fun. And I don't know. I won't say I ever had a plan. It's just whatever I want to do, I do.
That's how you meet a lot of people too. I mean, networking wise, just you do it for passion, not for the money, really.
That's right. And
And then no-
I really haven't been recreation. Y'all talking about Windrock and the trails. I've been to Windrock more times competing than I have full wheeling. I don't know the trail names. I don't know anything about it. I think I've been there twice to go full wheeling. Once in my 4Runner and once in a JK. But man, I couldn't tell you. I know Trail 15's off the pavement, and that's it. That's all I know. So I've
Yeah,
just been racing so long. I need to get back to trail wheeling.
They just
yeah,
they just set a course and you go.
Yeah, and at
Yeah.
Windrock, you always went back there to like the back corner where the big rock crawls
Right.
were. You know, there was Pro Rock back in the day. We did a lot of racing through the woods, but they're not going to shut Windrock down to let you race there. I wish they would. That would be that would be
That
crazy if
would-
they would. But
yeah. It's huge. That park's so huge too.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
What? So you got into you were running the Yodas on all the rocks. What was your favorite place to race back in the rock days?
man, so and to this day, I really. I guess the funnest part is meeting people again, like I say, networking, having a good
Right.
time. But I mean, everybody's heard of the Jellicoe stories. I mean, that hotel we stayed at back in that's the thing. Nobody had toter homes and all that. Them firework. I mean, I was there for all that. It was pure chaos, so much fun. Just so the Jellicoe will go. I mean, that's just it's iconic.
Right.
But then there was a place called Paragon. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know that one.
It's coming back. Maybe it's up there near Roush Creek. So, anyways,
Okay.
Paragon. The guy that owned Paragon's name was Kyle Snops. Met him through Paragon. That's actually where I won my first big rock crawl was at Paragon. So I kind of liked it. But Kyle now owns Badlands. So it's
Okay.
kind of funny when I see him. It's like, hey man, we go way back. It's kind of cool. Catch up for a little bit. We just had an Ultra 4 race there at Badlands, but I really like the Badlands too because it's just I don't know if you guys ever wheeled Badlands, but it's like okay, there's rock crawling, but yet there's like sand dune deserts, and then there's creeks and mud, so it kind of has it all. So
Yeah, they had a We Rock event. Just recently in Tennessee.
yeah, they used
Was it the
so
same
you used to
place,
have
or-
these huge motorsports things where they had We Rock, Ultra 4 monster trucks, and they did something similar. I think the We Rock was the same time that Ultra 4 happened. I really don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah. What was it, like a month ago, July? It was. I was gonna try to make a run up there to just check it out, but of course it was 103 degrees
yeah,
outside. and
yeah. That's the thing. It's hot and muggy up there too. It was hot. So
It was. It was not cool. It was not like
Right.
going to 60-degree weather. It was still rocking 100.
yeah, but that park is worth checking out. It's really cool terrain and the guy that owns it, Kyle, he's super cool and been in off roading forever. So he's done a good job with that park.
Very cool. So you got into Ultra 4. What made you make the jump to that? Just the idea of running KOH and
Yeah, and so I mean, I was doing the We Rock and XRA thing. I had just built like my first ground up buggy. Everything else had kind of been a Toyota based, and we just kind of modified a truck, this and that. And I did build a chassis and put a bunch of Toyota stuff in it. But for XRA, I told you you had to go a lot faster. Well, a 22 RE
Right.
was not fast. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
not fast at all. And that was I say the LS motor came out. I can't think. This was 2000, probably 5, 6, or 7, somewhere around. The LS motor's probably just coming out. Well, they were obviously really expensive. I mean, Jimmy's was kind of coming on too. Them buggies back then were probably 60, 70, $80,000. Well, I built a buggy with a supercharged 3.8 out of like a Buick Regal or a Buick Grand Prix, and man, I'm
Nice.
telling you, them things scream. I still have that motor. Well, I built several of them, and the last one I built, I put like way too much money into it, but it had a ton of horsepower, and I still have it, and I'm planning on putting it in an LJ project. It's sitting back here in the corner with dust all over it, so yeah, we built that car for XRA, and then that's when King of the Hammers started getting on people's radar. Pirate 4x4. That was the mecca
Oh, yeah.
back then, and I'll never forget. I only had a 5-gallon cell for XRA because you only did one little lap, maybe three minutes to 7 minutes.
wow.
Well, I took another 5-gallon cell, bolted it onto my car, and tied the two cells together to run my first KOH. And but even that first year I went out there, I didn't make the race. I had to do the LCQ, and I missed it by like 1 or 2 spots. So it's kind of a. But then the other funny story to that is it was so not unorganized. It was so new. It wasn't very professional. But there's, I don't remember how many people there. I feel like there was 100 people, and we didn't make the race. We just, after everybody took off, I got in line and took off behind them and just went out there and
Just
acted
ran
like
the
I
race
was
anyway.
Yeah, because I mean, I done drove all the way out there from South Carolina, so I was
Yeah,
like,
you're not gonna. I'm not just
I'm
gonna
doing
sit here
it,
and watch
right?
everybody else run.
yeah.
Right.
So
What's that process look like when you first go to KOH? You've spent all the money and energy to go out there. You don't make the cut. Yeah, you run it, but you're just you didn't make the cut. What's that process coming home like? Hey, let's do this again next year.
So back then, it's funny. Let's say that I think that was 2010. My buddy Drew Goldie at the time, he was actually in the race. He had got hooked up with Griffin. So back then, what's crazy is I probably didn't have a lot of money invested in it because I mean we had probably I think his dad paid for the gas. I mean I go out there, we're sleeping in the back of the excursion. I had the time of my life though. I mean I can't remember that time, but man, I'm telling you that first KOH. I could have probably walked around out there in the desert and had a good time. I mean, I don't know if I've ever. Now, I have left some races and been like, man, this sucks. My car's destroyed, whatever. But no, back then, that was fun. But now I will say, so then you were talking about when did I want to do it? I built a 4400 car. I was like, all right, I didn't have a lot of money, but I was like, I'm going to spend a lot of money on this 4400 car, which I don't know how much a lot of money was, but I built that supercharged 3.8, and I bought Fab 9 housings and built my own axles, and I just spent a lot of money on all that stuff. Went out there that year, and one thing at KOH, I've always never some people go out there and they'll yard sale it 5 miles off the finish line. I will say I've never destroyed my car right off the bat. It's always been like 10 or 12-hour days and something breaks or something. So I've had pretty good experiences at KOH. I finished a couple of them. I don't even remember how many I finished, but so I have finished. I've never placed that well. Maybe 19th, the highest I ever finished in 4,400. But back in the day, that was pretty respectable.
I mean, there's no doubt that KOH in itself has just. I mean, its growth has been
Yeah.
absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, 14 years ago, you guys were starting. 5 years ago, I mean, you were adding vehicles that were doing twice as fast as you were 5 years before that, and now you're running. now the vehicles you're running are trophy truck style
Oh yeah.
rock buggies. I mean,
Yeah, insane.
it's insane.
Well, that's me. I mean, I'm really like average guy. I mean, regular job. I mean, I don't have any crazy amount of money, no trust funds or nothing like that. But man, it got to where, I mean, heck, a set of tires. Think about how much a set of 40-inch tires are. I mean, I have people now that call me and they want to run KOH, and I'm like, and they'll be like, oh, I got a couple spares. I'm like, a couple, dude? You need like. If you're trying to go fast, I hate to say it, every manufacturer, I don't care what tire you like, if you're not blowing tires, you're almost not winning. You know what I mean? Which, I mean, some of them guys do finish without winning, but, dude, you're going so damn fast. To be competitive.
Well, if you didn't watch, I was going to say, if you didn't watch the end of last year's, then
yeah, that's what I'm
and
saying,
have that have that revelation, then you just need to you can turn it off.
Right. So
How many do you need? That's I want that answer.
what's that? What was that?
How many spares do you need?
Holy cow. Well, so what I try to tell people is, one, you go out there, and one thing, people talk about brand new tires. I didn't like new tires. I would always cut new tires. One of my secrets about four-wheeling on, even this goes for rock crawling and all, brand new set of tires, I take the valve stems out and I go drive them suckers around and get them like almost smoking hot to wear the sidewalls in. But anyways, you need your car, you're going to have 5 tires on your car. And you pretty much need 2 at every pit. So there's usually 3 pits. So, I mean, that's 6. And, they're talking about adding laps. So, I mean, I'd say you need a good 10, 11 tires. And that's if you don't blow any pre-running. If you're not pre-running, it's kind of like, so, but.
That's a lot of tires.
Yeah. Oh, well, and I mean, you guys have watched, I'm sure I'm like the hugest, I race, but I'm also the biggest fan. I mean, you guys watch, the leaders nowadays, they come in after the main lap and they're changing 4 tires,
So
So
you get a whole set and running out.
that's right. So
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
there's what, $20,000 just in tires.
Gosh, yeah,
Um,
some of them. Well, and now you talk about Baja. You said I ran Baja. I've never run Baja. I got this crazy goal to race Baja, the 1000, in something I own by the time I'm 45. I'm 42, and that's why the class 11 thing's kind of happening because I kind of got to get moving on this plan if I'm going to do it. And it might be in a class 11, I don't know, but in Baja, man, you change tires every pit stop, every truck's got. KOH is ridiculous, but Baja is a whole nother level of ridiculous amount of money. I mean, it
Yeah, I
that'll blow
bet.
you away. So
well, I'm already going to put my name on a hat, like for a pit crew if Baja happens. I don't, I don't. Actually, that was my whole goal of inviting you on, is just to get a pit spot.
well,
Be on the. I just want a pit crew shirt and Baja. Like,
well, it's
that's
funny
all I
because
want.
I have been talking about racing it, and I'm on some of these teams. I've been invited. Dave invited me out, and Dave took care of it. I mean, some of these guys. I mean, not saying Dave Cole's a millionaire, but some of these guys I do race with are definitely millionaires, and it's all funds expensive. They pay your plane ticket out there, hotels. I'm over here in the shop, and people are asking me if I'm going to race Baja, this and that. You going to do it? I'm like, well, man, I got this plan. Are you interested? They're like, oh, I want to help. I want to, like you. I want to be on the pit crew. I'm like, all right, well, man,
Right.
my pit crew's a
You
little
got
different.
money?
Like, you're gonna have to pay your way out there.
Yeah,
You
you have
got
to
to pay
invest
for your
in this?
fuel out there. I mean, but
Right.
I want you to be a part of it, but it's going to cost you a lot of money now. So.
It's
Yeah, I totally respect that.
what's the two brothers? What's their name? The
The
Rauez,
Gomez brothers.
Gomez. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's. I mean, they must have a good construction company going on.
Yeah, they say they cut trees and stuff, man, and that's the thing, man. It is,
Cut a lot of trees
dude. It is.
because they
It's,
have.
it's it's wild. Now that's one thing cool about Old Sport. Again, meeting people. I don't know the Gomez brothers personally, but you hear stories about how people make money and stuff like that, and you kind of admire them because
Oh,
man,
yeah.
these
Yeah.
guys have got very successful businesses, and man, they're doing exactly what I would do if I had millions of dollars. So
Yeah.
By bigger rigs, bigger trailers, and faster.
That's right.
I'd go faster is what I'd do, for
That's
sure.
right.
That's awesome. So, do you what your favorite trail out in KOH is?
I won't. Let's say favorite trail out at KOH. Man, my favorite thing to do at KOH is to this year in particular in the class 11 Chocolate Thunder. There's people spread from top to bottom at Chocolate Thunder. It's dark out. I had all the lights going. I drove to Chocolate Thunder as fast as that little class 11 would go. Slowed down a little bit for pedestrians there at the bottom, but I ripped that thing all the way. Not on the Chocolate Thunder Trail, but in a class 11 off to the side, there's some pretty good ruts. So I'm just banging up there. When I go out to the desert,
Yeah.
I love just bombing through the desert in whatever piece of crap I got. And you think you're going fast, but you're probably not really going that fast. But that's
It
my
feels-
favorite
it
trail is the
feels
whoops. Yeah. So
I'm gonna tell you one of the coolest things that I saw was you coming in 17th, hitting that last tabletop like you could care less. I mean,
that's
foot to the floor, and I'm like, I was just impressed that the little class 11 was holding itself together, that you were confident enough to send it and make it around the corner to the finish line.
Well, and I don't know if maybe you guys did see that interview with Tiffany Stone at KOH when she at the beginning in tech inspection or whatever, she come up to me and I was not lying. She was like, "Oh, you're racing class 11, this and that." I'm like, "Yeah, I have driven a VW about 4 miles my entire life," and I wasn't kidding. I've never owned one. I bought this thing at an auction and built that thing and didn't really finish it. And before that race started, I might have put 10 miles on that thing. So to say I was confident, I was just probably idiot to dang launch it. But yeah, so that. Finish 17th was actually really. I was excited to finish 17th. So
Yeah, that was very cool. I do have to ask this: out of these endeavors of having not a plan at all and just sending it, you've been married for what, 16 years? You said.
yeah.
Yeah, how's that worked out?
So
How many times has she killed you?
Well, so now here's my answer to that. So when I met my wife, one of our first dates was to Gulch's Off-Road Vehicle Park. I'm
yeah.
sure you've been there. So I was like, I'm pretty sure that I mentioned that name, Mike Cole. Mike Cole, he recently passed away though, but man, that guy won tons of rock crawling events. Well, one day Mike Cole invited us to the Gulches when it was probably not even open. So I've been going to the Gulches almost since the very beginning it opened, but I took my wife there. And so my answer is I've been four-wheeling since before I met my wife. So when she met me, it was kind of like, hey, I've been doing this. You can't tell me no now, like it's just.
Yeah, this was not a hidden characteristic of mine.
But I will say, there's been times where she's definitely gotten, pissed off and we're spending a lot of money. But that's why I got my daughter into it. You know what I'm saying? I got my daughter racing. I built her a car. Now she has to come to the events. So, man, getting my daughter into racing has been like phase 2, and it's been awesome.
So you have a teenage daughter.
Not yet. 12, pretty much a teenager.
She's
you know
12. Yes. But you've got her into the UTV world, and she has been absolutely crushing it.
Yeah, well, it's funny. So we talked earlier about fab skills. Well, I had my 4400 car. Well, that's like the top, man. You are beating that 4400 car for everything it owes you. If you're not, you're sitting back. You're trail riding. Let's face it.
Yeah.
So my fab skills weren't the best to build a dang, $20,000 front axle for this thing. So I'd always have my buddies help me. It sounds funny. My first major project, I built my daughter we did buy her like a little kid's UTV, and it would break, and it was a piece of crap little thing. It was always breaking. I was like, man, I'm going to build her a chassis. So I borrowed one of my buddy's chassis tables, and I built her a cool little car. And I tried some off-roading stuff tried a bunch of cool stuff. Well, the car was really cool. She did win some events, but that thing has been an Achilles heel. It's broke. We fixed it. I mean, it's just stupid little stuff happens. Carburetor. It's just been crazy. But no, my daughter has really enjoyed it, and we love traveling as a family to the races. I mean, the racing is like a third of why we like it. Seeing friends and traveling is just as fun as racing.
Yeah.
What's it like to see your daughter kind of pick up something that you've loved for so long and pass that along?
Man, that is definitely fun. It's awesome, and believe me, it's everybody has their moments. I mean, there's times where me and my daughter are arguing, and me and my wife are arguing, and stuff's breaking, ain't going right. But man, when she does win a big race, and the family's happy, and you don't blow any trailer tires out going to where you go. Yeah, it's a great weekend, and man, it's just you kind of like, man, okay, it's worth it, So
yeah, that's cool.
What's your encouragement as you coach her along the way? I mean, there's, I look back at trying to coach my kids and watching them struggle with things, allowing them to struggle with it, but yet knowing you really don't want them to suffer, but and struggle through it, but knowing they have to. What's that like for you and her when you guys are racing?
That's a good question right now, because I'm in that exact predicament. I bought her a 20, I don't know, it's a 2020 or 2021 Turbo S that a buddy of mine had built to race King of the Hammers or Ultra 4. So we went from about like 12 horsepower car to a full-blown race, Turbo S, 32-inch tires, and she picked it up pretty good, but man, we're struggling. I will say the Badlands race, it was hard. Yeah. She got scared. I was in the car fussing at her. My wife and I were fussing after the race. This and that. So it was. I'm in that process right now of trying to teach her things, but I do tell her, I was like, look, this costs a lot of money. If you want to do this stuff, you got to have a good job in the future. Nobody's giving us money, stuff like that. So a lot of life lessons. The way my wife says, I would turn everything into a life lesson. But no, right now we're struggling a little bit on getting her to that next level of confidence in her race car. But one thing I tell her that I didn't have, man, when I was racing, I knew that if I broke something major, I'd be like, man, I might not make it to the next race. I didn't have any money. I've literally been telling her, it's like, look, you can destroy this car and I can fix it now. Just don't worry about that. Just, I want to see you go fast. So we're learning. Yeah. We're trying.
Yeah, because it always is that moment when you're coaching your kid, and in the moment, you're right. You may pop off. You may you feed off their frustration and your own frustration, and afterwards you're like, God, I shouldn't have done that or should have done this, should have said that. My kids don't race, and I mean, they do other sports, but I can't imagine what it is in just a fast-paced world of the UTV world racing that.
Yeah, and I rode with her at Badlands, but one thing we're going to try different is we're going to probably put one of my friends in the co-driver seat, so I'm not just constantly yelling at her, So
Yeah, that's just probably a good idea. Hey, I was gonna say, has your wife ever picked the right seat?
no, my wife is not. She won't hardly even drive them. I mean, I want her to, but she likes it and she enjoys going, but she's definitely not going to co-drive or even hardly drive it. Or nah, she's pretty mellow. So she's a school teacher, so she just kind of she's mellow.
She wants the slow paced life.
That's right. Oh yeah, she gets.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have a weekend. She's like, I just want to sit at home and do nothing, And be honest with you, this past weekend I didn't go to Crandon. That was my mentality. It's like I want to sit here and do nothing. I was spent.
Beat up for sure.
That's right.
Well, yeah. So let's talk about the good old Vegas to Reno. You guys actually didn't even make it out of South Carolina without a mishaps, from what I understand.
Well, so the Vegas to Reno. Well, real quick, Class 11. My friend Will Harris bought a Class 11 like 2 KOHs ago on a whim. He called me. I knew what they were. He didn't know what they were really.
Yep.
He bought one sight unseen out of Mexico. The guy delivered at King of the Hammers. And, man, that whole class was just like so much fun, somewhat affordable. They're a lot more expensive than people think. I mean, people are like, oh, you got $10,000 or $15,000 in that? I'm like, nah, dude, like a good motor is 10 grand. And I don't have a good motor. I've got a decent motor. But I was actually buying a TIG welder. I want to learn to TIG weld aluminum. So I went to an auction to buy a TIG welder, and there was a VW. And I threw $1,000 on it, and I won the bid. But
Nice.
so then I was racing a Can-Am. I kind of got – the UTVs are fun, but I don't know. Them UTVs break every single race. I mean – people that are winning UTVs, you're replacing everything, I feel like. It's just...
And I remember you saying that one time. I was watching a video you were putting together. You were fixing the UTV on a Wednesday or Thursday to put it on a trailer. And that was your whole motto. It's like, I don't know why I'm doing this, because I'm just going to have to do this all again next week. I'm breaking everything. I remember you putting together that Can-Am for sure.
Yeah, and the Can-Am, man, it was awesome. I mean, there were some really cool stories in that whole thing. But anyway, I built that Class 11, and I did King of the Hammers in it, and we got this crazy idea. My buddy, I wanted to race Baja, and it might be in a Class 11. After Vegas to Reno, so that was it. We were like, hey, we're going to go to Baja. We're going to race. And it's like, okay, you just don't want to go down there. We need to do some long-distance races. So...
try something else.
Yeah, let's go to Vegas to Reno. 555 miles. I mean, that's that's a good start. And man, yeah, it was pretty insane. Again, I mentioned this, King of the Hammers. You go to the lake bed, you set up at the lake bed, you race, you come back to the lake bed. Man, Vegas to Reno, you got to take all your stuff with you, and you don't have anywhere to sit. It's like you're basically mobile the whole time. So that was a challenge. And you talked about having trouble before we left. The problem I had was actually right before the start. I got stuck before the start of the race. And,
but I was going to say, before that, you had a video where you didn't even get off. You didn't even get onto I-85 without having to turn around and come back.
So that video, that was funny.
You literally did not even leave South Carolina before you had trouble.
Yeah, that right there was okay. VWs, we're still kind of new to it. We're towing a truck. My buddy Will's got that Dodge where you can drive a VW up on top of the Dodge. It's like one of them carriers. You put a UTV up there. We just put a Volkswagen up there, and we're pulling a trailer. Well, you just pulled the VW up. It's a 2,500 Dodge, no big deal. Well, VW, all the weight's in the back, so it was fishtailing. We didn't make it 4 miles of the interstate, and it was a little sketchy. So we pulled over, and that's the video. He unloads it, and he's blazing through the exit ramp grass, jumping hills, and all that stuff. And then we back it up on the trailer, and we lost a fuel can before we even got on the interstate. But yeah, that was kind of funny right there. So,
well, then you guys, even before you left here, you only pre-ran that thing a day, like 10 miles before you took it out.
So I raced King of the Hammers, and I borrowed an engine from Will because my engine builder, he's an older gentleman, kind of like retired, and I asked him about a motor, and it's funny, the answer I got when I talked to him about a motor, he was kind of like, if the good Lord wants you to have a motor, you'll have a motor. I guess the good Lord didn't want me to have a motor because it was like, he's a preacher, and people were dying, and he had church stuff going on, so I didn't get a motor from him before KOH. I had to borrow one. But then when I got a motor, I went to Durham.
Like, I don't feel like that's a solid business practice to always rely.
Well, he's an old
Just
guy.
tell your customers, if God wants you to have it, maybe you'll have it. Like,
Yeah. Well,
I'm gonna start using that at work. Yeah.
Well, this
100%.
guy is, he's good as gold. Dale Cross Air Cooled. He, I talk to him every day. Obviously, that's with the motor. You guys seen the pictures of the motor I grenaded, which, not his fault at all. But anyways, no, he built me a motor. Me and Will, he's got these things called battle bugs where Durham towns become like our home track, and they let us race them out there on that GP track. I don't know if you've ever been to Durham town, but it's a pretty cool GP track. So I raced it there. I had some issues because I tried some different stuff in the deck height, but yeah, I put it together and was like, all right, here we go. It's Vegas to Reno time. We got to go.
yeah.
So
So you guys left out of here. It's what, a 2-day drive?
so now
2.5?
Well, that's the thing. People always, for King of the Hammers, people are like, oh man, how long does it take you to get out there? Dude, in a motorhome, when that motorhome fires up, in my RV, I make 3 fuel stops and it never cuts off.
Yeah.
We don't even cut
Yeah.
off to change drivers. You got to go to the bathroom, you just get up, hold the wheel, your buddy get in. So we make it to KOH in like 36 hours straight. But driving a pickup truck, there was only 2 of us. I can't remember what it was to Vegas. It was like 36 hours too, I think. But we drove it straight and obviously got to Vegas. You don't sleep when you're in Vegas, especially with all your buddies. A lot of them haven't been to Vegas in a long time, or some of them hadn't even never been. So, but yeah, then you go through tech.
Yeah, you guys were ballsy enough to take videos of your just the place you were staying. Which
Yeah,
I thought was,
now that.
yeah, I was.
So again,
I may have hidden that video somewhere.
back to networking. That was not my place. There's a guy named Matt Wilson who races at Durham Town, and he's not on social media. And I didn't even know he was racing Vegas to Reno. But we got out there, we needed a place to park our truck and trailer, and he was like, "Oh, hey, you can come park it at my little Airbnb." And you saw the pictures. That Airbnb was like a mansion. Boxing ring, basketball, goal. Courts, putt. That thing had it all.
Yeah.
Basement.
Other things that we shall not name mention. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that
It's
again, networking. Just a good guy I know from Durham Town. Hey man, come on over to the house, hang out, have a good time.
So did you guys not have a place to stay when you drove out there?
We
You
did
just
have a
sleep in
place
the
to
truck?
stay. So again,
Okay, good.
it's funny you talk about plans. I planned Vegas to Reno, obviously, but my buddy, we had to have chase trucks. I've got a pickup truck, but my pickup truck's an old 7.3 that I don't even know if the dang thing would make it to California. So Will's got that truck, but now I'm like, okay, we need another truck. Well, my buddy Sam Bratton lives in Chattanooga. Met him through We Rock back in the days. I called him up, and he's like, if I called him right now, he'd be like, yeah, let's go. He'll drive anywhere right now. But I called him up and said, hey, you want to help with Vegas to Reno? And what's it going to take? He said, man, he likes to gamble. He's like, I'm a rewards member at whatever, Caesars or Harris. He's like, I get us free hotel at Planet Hollywood. And I said, all right, sounds good. He said, if you pay for my gas, I'll get us free hotel rooms. So it worked out great. We did have a place to stay at Planet Hollywood, but you can't park a truck and a trailer. So that's why we had to park the one truck and trailer at my buddy Matt Wilson's place. So, yeah.
That makes sense.
There you go. Yeah, you guys did the walkthrough. I was like, I probably would have just let that one go.
Yeah.
What? I would have kept with the whole "what happens in Vegas" theme. Yeah, theme. But yeah, you guys get ready, get out there and get going. And man, from what I understand, it was a climb to the top, to the finish line, all the way through.
Well, and man, that's going back to as long as I've been racing Ultra 4. Ultra 4, King of the Hammers, it's a lot of work. Everything's a lot of work. So that Class 11 car, there was everybody on my team pretty much had raced Ultra 4, and man, we just never gave up. And we did bring a whole entire car That's the other thing. My buddy Will has a Class 11, and he's going to race it in Crandon the weekend after Vegas to Reno. And I was going to take it apart, bring the parts. I said, man, let's just throw that thing on a trailer, bring it out there. Well, man, I'm glad we did because, I mean, I'm not going to tell the whole story on here unless y'all want me to, but I did a recap on it. I got a YouTube page. I put it on there, May Motorsports. You guys can check it out. But it was an adventure. I mean, basically like 24 straight hours of racing, fixing the car, and a lot of, I mean, really, we don't know what we're doing. I mean, we're just getting into Class 11. I mean, I can fix about anything, but we're learning. So,
yeah, you were stuck at the start line before you even started.
That was really the biggest thing. You're in a two-wheel drive Class 11. I got stuck at the start. I told people I think there was like 260 people starting the race, and we were going 257. So I was almost the last person to start, and I didn't even make it. I was 20 minutes late at the start because we got stuck. Chase truck had to come get us. He pulls us through, which seemed like a mile-long sand silt bed. He blows the radiator off the truck. This is all before we started the race. I mean, I was so mad, frustrated, and Best in the Desert waited on us, and we took off, and nothing changed. It was just tires and fuel pumps and just miscommunications on the crew. You talk, that's another thing about point-to-point racing. Right. Man, them guys that went, I mean, it's just, there's so much that can go on. Not like KOH, you're almost worried about just the race. Man, and them Baja races and, point-to-point races, you got chase trucks to worry about. Is your chase truck going to make it? Or your guys going to get in a wreck? Heck, the dang chase truck could break down, kind of like ours did. I mean, it's just, yeah, good. It's fun, good stories.
I read the parts list that you had. You might as well have just taken the body off the one and put the body on the other one and just start it over.
That's a lot of people were messaging me, this and that. Hey, are you going to Crandon? And I could have went to Crandon. My car wasn't. And really, if I'd have worked around the clock, which I got a regular job, I work for Duke Energy. So, I mean, it's, I still got to do my regular job too. I spent a lot of time in my shop after work, but I had to come home, put his car back together so that he could go race Crandon. My car was blowed up, shock modes. So that's what I did. I spent a lot of time getting his car running, and I just was like, man, I'm going to sit this one out, guys. I'm just going to clean everything I got up. I mean, just everything I had was just a mess. So
that's understandable.
So what do you don't even make it to the start line without difficulty. And, I've been in situations where you prep for something, you get ready for it, and all of a sudden everything goes to crap and you're not anywhere prepared. What are you saying to yourself the first 10 miles after the start line to bring yourself back down? Because obviously, I mean, you put this much time and energy into it. You're pissed off. It already hasn't started out well.
So when I'm stuck, you're like, this ain't happening. And, then it's like there's nobody around. The chase truck's on it. Then when we got going through that sand, I mean, it was really, it was 110 degrees, probably a heat index of like 117, not even joking. Hot as crap. I'm in a fire suit. I didn't have my helmet on yet. And here I am getting drugged by a dang Dodge 2500 through the nastiest silt bed you could feel like. It was a silt bed. It was a sand wash. Man, I'm cussing. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. Get to the start line. But then, I mean, the first 10 miles of that race, I was just like not myself, driving the car way too hard. And really, I told the story, I blew a tire out probably maybe 10 miles in. I think blowing the tire kind of calms me down because it got me out of the car. But, man, I was so hot and just flustered before I even started. But then, now, I will say, going back to my KOH days, there is the 1 year that I did document a lot of my KOH trip, I had like the worst thing ever happen. I had a brand new car almost, brand new. I just built brand new 40 spline axles, spent a ton of money on this stuff, brand new almost everything. And in qualifying, I had a power steering pump fail, and I went flipping, breaking axles, all kind of stuff. And now that was probably like the biggest heartbreak. I mean, I thought my KOH was over before it even began. And, man, my buddy stepped in and helped me fix it. So I've had some pretty bad situations, and that getting stuck at the start of the Vegas Arena was one of them. So kind of like I've been there before, and it's like I just know I got to calm down and just keep going. And I got good friends. I mean, really good friends to help me get through it. And you know, we did kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah.
You finished sort of.
That's right. Yeah, we
Pulled
had
it across.
We skipped one section and then we finished late, and they let us pull the car across the finish line because it blew up 2 miles before the finish, put a hole in the block.
Wow.
So,
Holy moly.
but
Yeah, I saw you posted pictures yesterday or today of that motor just.
that's right. I took the
It's-
engine out this weekend and took it apart, and it was the guys. Now my buddy Will, he's driven one, but Jody Ford never driven a VW. Actually, he had like a buggy, but man, I told the guys, I said, look, I want to finish. Don't be hard on it, but do not be afraid to beat on this thing. Like we are. This is a practice for the 1000. This is an easy race. So we got our butts kicked at the easy race. So it's so funny because my buddy Will was like, man, you think we'll go to the Baja this year, this and that? And I was like, well, we'll see what happens in Vegas Reno. And I think before the race was even over, we both looked at each other and was like, yeah, Baja is not happening.
Yep.
Probably not next year either. Like we got a lot to learn. So.
Yeah.
You guys skip watching the Dust to Glory movie? You missed
So,
that?
It's funny you mentioned that movie because I was watching the Crandon live feed, and I think it's been like 20 years since that movie came out. But no joke.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
In the college days, me and my roommate would watch that movie and talk about going to Baja one day, and that's meeting people. Dave Cole. Dave Cole was trying to Ironman the 50th Baja 1000 was a peninsula run, and he built a
Right.
car to run it. And I was like, Dave, come on, man. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty handy. I can fix stuff. And he let me go. And man, it was kind of like going back to the Dust of Glory days. I've always wanted to go to Baja, and I finally made it down there. But now I want to race something of my own, and it may be a Class 11. I don't know, maybe a UTV, but we'll see.
There you go. Yeah, I think if you ever see that movie, if you were old enough to see it in the theaters, I've never left a movie theater so fast in my vehicle. I mean, I was ripping out of that parking lot, like put that thing in second gear and just mash it. Yeah, that was a classic. Yeah, and I think that sparked everything from KOH to Sparking Baja and people getting more interested in it. And
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously
that's
the-
me. I would have known about it by now, but man, back in the
Sure.
day, I wouldn't have known what that Baja was, or even that the race existed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was super cool.
When you talk about racing, what's your one moment you go back to? That one hang your hat on moment. You're like, if I could repeat anything, let's go do that.
Man, there's just too dang many. I mean, some of my most recent ones. So my daughter won, like her first race she ever won was super cool because, I mean, we had so many problems and everything, but she won that race. My wife actually made like one of them big canvas pictures of it. It's hanging up in the shop. So that moment when my daughter won her first race, and it was a pretty big race, like a Thanksgiving thing. It wasn't like there wasn't nobody there. I mean, there was definitely some competition, and she won. And man, that one lately is pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, winning my first U-Rock event. I mean, them U-Rock events back in the day were really big. I mean, there was a lot of people, a lot of good competition. And then finishing, I wish I could remember the first KOH I finished. But every time I've ever finished KOH in the 4400 class, it was like, man, I've spent a ton of money. I've spent the last 6 months of my life working on the car. You know, my wife knows how much hard. So them are emotional when you finish the 4400 race. I mean, because you literally spend everything you got to do them races.
What is the design process? You talk about your 4400 car, and that was your kind of first one you designed. What, or you built the roll cage for and started from scratch with. What's the process in building something like that? Is it just hand it to somebody, make it run, and I'll go drive it, or is it?
No, and that's, I admire people like, I mean, Shannon Campbell, the guy builds like every little piece on the car. You watch his Instagram, he's like, God. So I started Lee Springs, and I'm trying to think of the first time I ever did a link suspension. I know you do, Clint, you do a lot of V8 swaps, but man, I really started one step at a time. But the first 4400 car we built, I got a buddy named David DeMoise. He's pretty good with computers and stuff. And man, on the Pirate 4x4 forum, you watch people build like trick stuff, and you're like, oh, I take that idea. And
That
I
was
mean, the first,
Instagram back in the day.
well, that's, yeah. So I built a 3 link one time. Well, I kept ripping the damn, kept ripping the link off the axles. Like, I gotta get a 4 link. But that first car I ever built, my buddy David designed it in CAD, and I didn't trust him. He wanted to cut the chassis out, and I didn't trust him enough to do it. But Tommy Glenn, man, my buddy Tommy Glenn, he run a muffler shop. Well, when you run a muffler shop, you bend tube all the time. So he
Yeah.
could bend tube like no other. I would literally go over there after work. I'd give him an idea, and we would bounce back ideas back and forth. But man, I have learned so much. It was all just napkin sketches. There was nothing. I did use like the 4 link calculator back in the day, but man, a lot of that stuff is just making it work. I mean, a lot of stuff now. I mean, I definitely feel like I know a lot about off-roading, but almost now, the older I get, it's like people that are good at stuff like shocks. I can rebuild a shock, but man, people that are good at stuff, it's like you got to pay them to do it. That's the secret sauce. There's people that are so niche at what they do, you got to let them do it. So,
And it saves you a bunch of time for sure. It saves, some people a lot of time.
yeah, but now the class 11, I just went in there. I mean, really, well, you talk about Instagram and Facebook, the Slettons. I mean, there's a old man named Dennis Sletton. We bought a cage kit off of him, and man, hey man, I'd send him a picture. I'd even FaceTime him sometimes. What do I do here, this or that? So, just kind of go at it. But the 4400 stuff now, I wanted to build an IFS car. I don't remember what year, but I was actually going to use like a Tribe 16 front end or something, maybe build my own chassis. But yeah, now I don't, man, that stuff there is just, yeah, over my head for sure.
So what's the next project
And so
besides trying to get to Baja?
yeah, well, so this weekend I'm actually going to Nitro Cross with my buddy Will. He's the one that we're kind of doing this Class 11 stuff. I mean, you guys, Travis Pastrada, the whole Nitro Cross stuff.
Yeah.
He got invited. He did one in Vegas actually last year, so I'm gonna tag along with him to this one. But really, the next big thing, we're gonna go to Nationals, Ultra 4 Nationals. I'm taking my daughter in her Turbo S 1000, but I want to race my Class 11 at King of the Hammers. But really, I'm trying to get my daughter's confidence up in this 1000. We're gonna actually race at Durhamtown on September 21st. So I don't know. We talk about the Can-Am and stuff. Man, these new Mav Rs, man, are really impressive. I've been doing some of these 12-hour races with some friends of mine. Glenn Young, he's letting me drive he's got an X3, but man, these new Can-Ams they're pretty nice. I would like to build one, but I don't know. We'll see. So
from a guy that's done the UTV, the off-road Jeep UTV Ultra 4, what's your thought about, you always hear the controversy of UTVs are killing the off-road world. But of course, yeah. What's your thought about that?
I definitely don't think they're killing the off-road world. I mean, the UTVs and trail riding get a bad rap because, a lot of people are drinking and tearing stuff up. But, man, in the racing world,
Yeah.
I mean, man, they are – well, I'm old – I'm old school Jeeper, like, had the Ford Ranger, the Toyota trucks. You just don't see rigs on the trail anymore. I mean, I want to finish this LJ over here. I mean, and I got a pretty sweet JK that's got coilovers, and I'll go trail ride. But, man, I mean, that's all you see. So – I mean, they are awesome. That new Maverick R, and that's the thing. It's kind of like old NASCAR. Like, what was that? Win on Sunday, people buy it on Monday. I mean, that's the thing.
Right.
Nobody can. I mean, not many people can say, "Oh, look at Shannon Campbell this," or Cameron Steele's got this IFS IRS. I mean, yeah, it's cool to watch, but when they see a Can-Am or a Polaris or a Kawasaki win, that's what they got. So it's kind of cool. I think it's awesome. I love the innovation and heck. CT Raceworks, so is Alex Reed. I mean, he's right there in Mooresville, North Carolina. I mean, he's building some of the most winningest cars, Can-Ams. I mean, and me and that guy, he raced. I remember when he started racing UTVs in like a little Kawasaki thing he had. I mean, before he's even building UTVs, it was like Carolina Truggies. And that guy's come, so long. I mean, so it's just awesome. And that's kind of right here close to us. I mean, 3 hours away from it. But so.
Yeah, you definitely have seen the growth since COVID, obviously, for sure. And I think you're right. I think the trail riding is definitely a little different than the forward drive. But nowadays you can stick 37s on these things, and You're hitting ledges that you're hitting that 8 foot, 5 foot ledge where 10 foot ledge where in a Jeep or a Yoda you're not going to do it. You're going to go.
Yeah.
You're going to bypass it. But
Well, that or yeah, like these new. I think it's like a Pro R. You can put 37s on it. I mean, you need to modify it a little bit, but you can make a payment on it. I mean, a Jeep, you got to trick it out pretty good before you can put 37s or 40s or
Right.
I mean, so I get it. Believe me, I've got a Jeep. I've got a UTV, and man, the UTV is nice. It's easy to. It's fun to go out there, and the best thing about a UTV though that sucks in a Jeep, which now if you got a tricked out Jeep, you can haul butt. But man, when you're ready to get back to the camp or the campfire or whatnot, man, you can get there in a hurry. Where in a Jeep, it kind of takes a while. You're beating around or whatever. So that's one thing nice about them.
well, very cool. Well, very cool. So Baja in 2-3 years,
Yeah, well, so and
possibly.
I'll be going. Hopefully, I'm going back to Baja. I've got a team that I've been helping out, and that's the other thing. Managing time off of work, man. I still work a 410 schedule. That I have almost worked a 410 schedule my whole life, and that's because I want to go racing, so I've kept that 410 schedule. But yeah, I want to go to Baja and help a team out this year again, and learn. I mean, one thing I need to learn Spanish. Really, is what I need to learn. So
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting. I think Clinton and I made that comment before we started this. How do you balance a mainstream job and you're not an owner? You can't just put money aside or just take the time off that you need or work real hard during this week and take off for 3 weeks after that. You don't have the privilege of doing that, and most of us don't. What's your best advice, or how do you manage that?
well, I've told people this before. I've been asked. So one thing that I've seen, man, I've been four wheeling a long time, and I've seen so many people come and go, and some people, some people get into off roading, or let's say you're just building a Jeep. I mean, somebody might do a Hemi swap and drop 40 grand on a Hemi swap, and they'll go four wheel and lay it on its side and blow the dang motor up. Well, the family can't take it or whatnot. I have never put myself in a financial bind. And I see people do it a lot. They come in, they drop maybe they buy a $150,000 car, and then they don't realize that you're gonna destroy that car if you're trying to be good at it. So one thing I've never put myself in a financial bind, but I've done a lot of racing, but I've never been like, crazy successful either. I mean, I'm successful in my own mind. I mean, I'm having fun, I'm doing good, but I mean, I've never won, Ultra 4 championships or whatever. So, I mean, it's just
You're not taking second mortgages out to build a race car.
right. And it's paid off for some people. You hear some crazy stories about it working out, but man, I try to stay financially. And believe me, I have spent money that I haven't had before, especially back in the days when I was telling you I was building, cars when I didn't have any money. But man, just people get carried away. I've worked at Duke Energy for almost 15 years, and it's a great company. And I do get, several weeks off. But man, people see me like go to California, and they're like, "Oh man, how do you do it?" And they don't realize that when I get off work at 5:30. I mean, it is the trailer's packed. It's running. My buddies are waiting on me, and we hit the road, and we drive nonstop. We race all dang weekend, and sometimes I don't get home till 3 or 4 in the morning. I got to be back to work at 7 a.m. in the morning. So, I mean, everybody that races will tell you it's crazy how hard we work to have. I mean, a little bit of fun, but man, you got stories that'll last a lifetime. So,
Yeah.
Well, and then social media doesn't show that in today's age.
yeah,
They don't
and
show
I wish I could be better at the social media. I mean, I've tried to have a guy follow me and do stories and all that, but then, man, then you got to put the content out there. You got to put it together. I mean, so
Yeah.
even if you film everything, that's not even the hard part. It's putting it all together and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean,
Well, and then it still doesn't capture the 4 hours of sleep or the getting off work, running to the truck, and then doing or God knows how long of nights you spent after the kids go to bed or the kiddo goes to bed. You're in that shop. I mean,
well, too, and
working
another,
and
you talk about, hey man, I want to be on your pit crew. And a lot of people are like, probably think, well, man, how do you how does that guy get to go with him? Man, I got to work during the day. So sometimes I'll call my buddy, be like, hey, man, I need you to go. People want to come over and help in the shop. And that's great that you might want to come over and help me, I don't know, weld or something. But really what I need you to go get fluids. I need you to go get this, or I need you to drop this off at this guy's shop.
Yeah.
That's the biggest help because I don't have time during the week to do that. So that's where good friends, networking, and just, that's the type of stuff that helps. And them are the people that, some people are like, man, hey, you want to come to KOH? You've been helping me do this. Yeah, jump in the RV. Let's go, I got you,
Right.
So, but.
Yeah, it's the grind that it doesn't show. And I think that's, we all get to see the glory of, oh, well, May gets to do this or so-and-so gets to do that. And then it's like, well, you don't realize how much work is actually done on the backside.
Yeah, I mean, and man, I spend way too much time in my shop, which I built a pretty nice shop, which me and my buddies built this shop. I mean, that's the thing. I've kind of done almost everything I've done it all myself. Me and my buddies really have, but built this shop right behind my house because like my daughter can literally walk down the hill and come in the shop, and my wife, if I want to eat dinner, it's right there. So that's been another thing. Having a shop in the backyard is nice. If I was
it's kind of helpful.
20 minutes away, I mean, so I can just go up to the house or my wife could just be like, hey, go down to your shop, leave me alone, so.
Either way. Yeah. My wife's just starting to learn to kick me out and be like, isn't your Jeep broke? I was like, yes, it is. Thank you for reminding me. But Matt, Chris, this has been an absolute pleasure. You have an extensive history. I mean, I don't feel like I feel like we could go another 2 hours and probably not touch as many stories as you've got. But tell everybody how you got your Instagram, May Motorsports, your YouTube, Instagram, all that.
Yeah, the YouTube, you can check it. I actually posted that race recap on there. I need to do some better things about it, but it's May Motorsports LLC, and that's on Instagram, Facebook, or, Chris May on Facebook. I really post a bunch of stories. I don't know why. That's just easy. So, but yeah, if you're bored, I mean, I'm usually posting something stupid. It's usually always off-road related or at least shop related. And so, yeah, man, follow us, and we're always up to something.
And always go check out the old stuff because there's a lot of UTV videos I know that are out there and a lot of Ultra 4 videos that you put together that are out there too. So some cool stuff back there.
Well, what is y'all's next big event? Let me ask you that. What's your next big event?
We got I got the Anderson one. I talk about big. It's
yeah,
just
the Jeep show in Andersonville.
Yeah,
that's actually the 21st, and I want to go, but that's the Durhamtown race that is my next daughter's race. So I'm gonna miss. I'm gonna miss the Jeep show. That was actually pretty big last year.
Yeah, I heard it was. We're going for just marketing purposes. I think we made the comment in another show. Are you going to do the off-road park when you go to Myrtle Beach? And I always say, hell no.
The big mud holes.
That's the time you go break right there, and you get 50 million people taking a video of you stuck on some drainage tube.
Yeah, and that's
no,
right
thank you.
Right at the end of the 4400 deal there, I did a lot of shows. I was going with Carolina Driveline and Aggressive Crawlers actually out of Myrtle Beach. We did a lot of shows with them. Them guys are pretty cool. And I did the show stuff for a while there. And actually, I did that Jeep Invasion when it was nothing. It was so funny to see how big that was. I drove up for one day the other week right when I got home from Vegas to Reno because that show has gotten insane. I mean, it's crazy how many people are at that show.
Yeah, it's really big.
So
yeah, the next show we have will probably be Jeep Beach in Daytona next year.
Okay, yep.
Hopefully at the end of the month, I'm going to try to go to Windrock and do like my first official wheeling trip on my new build. So it'll probably be a disaster. Maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah, first.
It's always that trial and error.
That's right.
Trial and error. Good fun stuff.
Well, I mean, one day I hope we could meet up and we can have some off-road campfire stories for sure. I'm sure y'all got some good ones.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Gulches is always on the calendar.
Oh
It's
man,
just-
I know, and that's like my hometown. That is, man, and the new owners are awesome, and they're making. It's actually they posted on their thing. They're tearing that old house down. Man,
Yeah,
I got so
they
many
didn't-
memories of that old house, sleeping on the floor, and we used to Skip would let us sleep in the house, and just
Oh wow.
buddies had bachelor
Well,
parties at Gulch's. I got some really good Gulch's stories. So
well, I'm gonna harass Brandon some more. Hopefully, get him on. Of course, I
yeah,
brought it to him. And
Brandon don't even
he
know
looked
half the Gulch's stories. So because I
he,
mean, but
he
yeah,
he looked like a deer in a headlight when I said, "Hey, could you be on a podcast?" And I think his wife chuckled. I said, "We're not that bad. We really are just having a conversation." But I think he got more scared than he's ever been in his life.
yeah. Some people
When I
don't
s-
like talking or whatnot, which I'm not a big fan of it. But I kind of do it at work, this and that, so it ain't that big of a deal. But I love off
No.
roading. I can talk off roading all day long. So
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this has been awesome. Chris, congratulations on Vegas to Reno. I mean, I know it wasn't exactly what you had planned, but you took a Class 11 bug and ran Vegas to Reno. Congratulations!
yeah, I mean, if the motor hadn't blown up, it would kind of been successful. I mean, blowing that motor up, I mean that sucks a little bit. I got to build a new motor, but man, I had a blast. We're going back. I'm going back next year. I mean, we're doing it. So in the class,
and nobody else did it. You were the only
I'm
Class 11.
trying. I'm going to round
So-
up some class 11 people. There's been people that do it in the past, but I'm going to round some guys up. Maybe get a little side bet going or something.
There's no doubt there were guys that sat on their couches and watched that race and was like, "Damn it."
Well, yeah. So another funny story, kind of real quick, is back in the 4400 days. Man, I finished King of the Hammers in the 4400 car. I mean, that is a huge accomplishment. I mean, because in back in the day, it was tough. They talk about racing around the rocks. There was no bypasses in the early days.
No.
Everything was hard. So that was a huge accomplishment. I mean, some people reached out, whatever. High five, man. Racing that Class 11, I had more messages on Facebook and Instagram, and Pam Hall sharing them reels. I've had more people reach out to me after racing that Class 11 Vegas Reno than ever. So it's just, I mean, the Class 11 is awesome because you get a lot of attention and it's super fun. So
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I've told my wife we were gonna have you on, and she's been wanting a bug for years. I mean, ever since and I told her, I said I would be more than happy to have a bug as long as it looks like Chris's.
well,
So-
before I went to Vegas to Reno, not now. You don't want to.
We talked about it before 2 weeks ago. Before that,
Yeah.
but no, I said as long as I can have it on the weekends and go do that, I'll be good. We can have a bug. So
So many
we'll get
people
close
want to
to
talk
it,
to
so.
me about VW stuff. Like, oh man, I had this or I had that, and I kind of give them the deer in the headlight look. Like, dude, I don't know
I have no clue.
crap about VWs. I'm about to beat this thing to obliteration on an off-road race. Like they're talking to me about this and that. I don't know, and I'm learning though. But so, anyways.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we'll be excited to continue to watch you grow, and hopefully that Class 11 holds together
Yeah. Well, y'all too, man.
as long as it needs to.
This is a fairly new podcast, right? What episode are y'all on? Or
We're on number 3, 4,
three? Yeah,
3 or 4. We
I
don't even
did
know.
listen to the intro
Three
thing, so
interviews. Yeah.
yeah. Good luck to y'all, and man, I hope this thing
Well,
takes
thank you.
off, and it's really cool. I appreciate
Yeah,
y'all
thanks,
inviting me
man.
on.
Well, awesome.
Yeah, of course.
Well, if you haven't, reach out to Chris on May Motorsports LC on all the stuff, all the Instagrams, the YouTube. I think it's time we put out the fire today. And if you want to share your comments, you can email us at offroadcampfire@gmail.com. And if you want to leave a voice comment, which God knows we'll play back maybe, depending on how rude or nice you are, you can reach us at 803-250-6601. Well, we're going to put out the fire. I'm Ryan, and this is Clinton. And thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time around the campfire.
Thanks, guys.
See y'all.